How can people, now this is personal branding, you started on LinkedIn, you started working on all these different projects, got a lot of traction, and you worked really hard, you're very consistent. I think consistency is a big part of branding, whether it's like Apple or whether it's you and me. Like there's so much consistency in the messaging and how we show up, and like the experience you were talking about, like you have to keep that experience consistent, whether you meet someone on the street or whether you host a big event. That intention has to be the same wherever you go. So there's this whole part of consistency that I want to talk about. How can someone build that consistency in how they're showing up? Like one is getting to know the personal brand, but I think next is to like live it. What has worked for you in the last few years to like keep it consistent?
Yeah, great question. So, short answer, and then I'll expand on it. Commit first, figure out the rest later. So, once you've identified your core values and what you stand for, and then your personal brand, commit to it. However you want to show up, whether that's, again, we're on LinkedIn Live right now, so using all the different tools and platforms and how you can show up. If you want to do video, audio, well, audio's gone, but video, text, newsletter, etc. Commit to doing it and then figure out the rest later. There is no perfect time to launch your personal brand. Again, you already know it. You just got to learn how to grow it so you can monetize it. And so once you've committed to it, like for me, like my podcast, I book months in advance. I'm already booked almost through April of this year. And so I have to show up, Prasha. There, I can't reschedule 30 people, 15 people because I don't want to do it. I have to show up to do this. And so that's my way of staying consistent, is to commit first, whether I feel like it or not. I have to show up. And so I think that's just a life lesson for us. Consistency is one of the hardest things to do. If we can, give a percent, I don't know if I'm tapping into 50% or 60% of my consistency, but a little bit goes a long way.
Yeah, definitely. Because this is exactly how I did it. I told myself when I started podcast, I said I'll do it for 25 episodes, just 25, and then we'll see. Because I never stick to anything. I never go to gym for 25 weeks. I never eat healthy for 25 weeks. But this one thing I'm gonna do for 25 weeks straight, and we'll see what happens. And there were weeks, Orlando, there were no guests. I had to beg people. I remember begging to one of my interns, and like literally being like, "This is your project. You have to be on my show." And she's like, "I don't want to be." And I'm like, "You're going to be." So that's still my like episode number 3, where I'm like, just you have to be, because I can't miss my streak. Like I need to get to this
No.
25 week, and that was like the biggest contributor, because like you said, you have to commit to something. And I think personal branding is one of those things. It's like a resume. You can't live without it anymore, right? Like you can't
Correct.
exist in this world without it. You can't stand out for these big jobs that you're going for without it. Now tell me, how did you balance the two? Like I built a personal brand alongside my 9 to 5 as well. I know you did too. How do you balance all that? Because timing is an issue, energy is an issue,
Mhm.
people are stuck in toxic teams, there's so much going on. How do you prioritize your personal brand?
Yeah, so for me, I think I answered this on a different conversation, and and I love this question. So this is the second time it came up for me, and I would tell you, if you're in a family, because me, I'm married, me and my wife, and we have 6 daughters. So, and a lot of people are like, wow, 6 kids, yeah, yeah. So that's another reason why I'm doing this. But you, I would say, have those conversations with family to know that a lot of your personal time is going to be taking up to build another business or to build a business for the family, right? The goal is to increase revenue, increase lifestyle if you choose to, but put your family in a better financial position, so you're not regulated to just one source of income. If you still work a corporate job like myself, I always say monetize the gifts and the talents. So if anything were to happen in this market, you can still have a stream coming in. And if you choose to go back into the workplace while operating this as well, you can do that. But it first initially is having that conversation, sitting down, setting a vision and plan with your family to say, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I plan on doing it. This is how much time it's going to take. I need your support. And so, a little closer to home, like my kids know when I do my podcast every Monday night, it's quiet. Like you have to go dark. You have to go quiet. Go burrow in your room because I can't have any distractions of any kind. And so, and they support me in doing that. Now, if you're single, then you have the time, but then you still have to block out. Am I committed to this? Like you said, I'm gonna get to 25, but you're still pushing through. And so or if you're committed to do something, don't do something because it's the trend.
Yes.
Because everybody, and their sister has a podcast now, but very few get past the 25 mark.
Yeah.
Very, very few. The numbers are very, very small based on how many podcasts are really out there, just to give an example. But for me, it's just having that open communication so I can balance the two. And from the work perspective, I always say sometimes work gets in the way of this.
Yes. Because you're still at your 9 to 5, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're still balancing it all, which is to me, it's crazy because like you said, work gets in the way of this. That's kind of how it got for me, where I'm like, one of them has to give because the one I love the most, I need to do more of that. So it's like having two girlfriends. You like one of them more, but you can't get out of the other one.